I want to speak to y'all, and I want to say this. If you came from a womb and you identify with womanhood, whether you were born with female reproductive organs or you were born with male reproductive organs, if you grew inside a womb, if you spent 9 months inside of a womb, I want you to realize that we all have power. We all have purpose. Under the water, there are beings that go from sex to sex because they are not prohibited in the ways that we are. Their program is pure creation. Life being birthed every millisecond. Countless forms, countless entities existing in that water, and we come from that water. We are 70% water, but there's so much of our brain we don't understand, so much we don't use, so many spells that have been incanted over us to program us as we're in the shallow part of the ocean. So shallow is air, but water is still present. Amen, a woman. I just want all of my siblings who from that water, who breathe in this air, who from that womb, I want you to remember that. I want you to remember how you raise sovereign beings. It's connection whenever African kings and queens, or Chinese royalty, Asiatic royalty, whenever European royalty is being born, there's a court, there's countless attendees, there's family that is sending energy towards that womb for that being to come here understanding they're sovereign. Sovereign in a way where they don't belong to themselves. But our ancestors who understood that we were stewards of the land when we brought sovereign beings here, it didn't mean that they were beholden to people. It meant we were beholden to our original ancestors, the land and the water that holds us. And so our loyalty was always to the preservation of the thing that held us. The first womb, this flesh gets us twisted. They play with our minds and they make us forget that our first mother was the cosmic womb. Being born with a vagina does not equate superiority. Being born with a penis does not equate superiority, because they all come from one place. There were beings who did not need to come together because they were already one. There were beings that could create through parthenogenics, and we see it in nature. Copperhead snakes can still do it. And snakes are some of the oldest beings on the planet. There are beings that can change from sex to sex, and there are beings that can parthenogenically create. If mankind, womankind, humankind is at the top of the food chain, what makes you think that that capacity isn't in our DNA and that it's just for some reason been cut off? Binding spells, incantations created to bind that capacity. How could we be at the top? How could we be creating civilizations? How could we have a society with billions and not have certain capacities unless through gatekeeping and Masonic work or whatever, some of those things have been binded? Ask yourself, how could we be at the top of the food chain if some of us did not have these capacities? It's over 8 billion of us on the planet. You're trying to tell me none of us have those capacities? Let's stop arguing with each other. We are one. XX, XY, and all of the variables in between, pieces and cells and organs, are part of a divine body. Patterns that come from the original chain, a chain that wasn't broken. And XX and XY are broken. Broken from an infinite loop, from a circle, broken pieces, split trying to get back to being whole. When I say I'm whole, when I talk about wholeness, that is a wish, that's a longing, that's a desire that I strive towards every day, remembering to feel whole and to seek out wholeness. And I know that it's not going to happen if we continue to battle with one another in a way that keeps us divided, so that those in power can continue this game of erasure, suppression. You tried to box me in, erase all my kin, force me to blend so you could retell my story and make me the sin. But for every day you win, 1,000 you will lose. And today ends your reign. And that is good news. People are constantly telling us to read, and while I don't have a problem with reading, the Bible's intention is even questionable. And it's the Bible has been used to program and manipulate so many people. So when people say read, yes, reading is great. I read on a 12th grade level when I was 11 years old. I loved reading books. But what I found more powerful than reading is resonating. And in order to be able to resonate, you have to gain wisdom through experience. You have to meditate. You have to be able to sit with the voice that you hear when no one else is around. You need to be able to look in the mirror and truly see yourself. And then once you could do these things, you could see yourself in others. And not just the illusion of the person, but the actual person. You could sense it from their frequency, from their energy. You can feel their intentions. And this is why some people don't want to be around you. You can sense people's intentions when you are present and paying attention, when you're in tune. Because let's be clear, most people wear a mask quite often, not just at Halloween. And when you begin to look in some mirrors, you'll realize that you need to learn something here. And when that lesson is no longer being learned, or you're no longer seeing what you need to see from this mirror, then that's when it's time for you to look in another mirror. If you're looking in a mirror, you're in a relationship that has become unhealthy, that's become imbalanced, then you have to make the decision to step away from that. You have to stop. It's time for you to stop looking into that mirror, and it's time for you to look into another mirror. You know, and as I figure out that we are all mirrors, as I figure out that we are all reflections of each other, I'm being more clear about the mirrors that I want to look in and the mirrors I don't want to look in. The boundaries I want to set, the boundaries that I need to set for me to see and sense and feel and manifest and open the portal, lay the foundation for the reality that I envision. And I can't even see it all by myself because it is collective. I refuse to let myself see every inch of it. That's how important it is for me for this to be about collective. I see so many things, but I block certain things out of my mind to connect with genuine pieces of myself that can help to visualize this. But I know that vision is in there. I can feel it. I can sense it. I used to see it all the time when I was a child. And I knew ever since I was a child, there was something to this idea that we are one, that we are connected. Because the first thing that I ever drew as a child when I was 5 years old was an angel kissing the devil. And now I'm learning these Gnostic texts about Sophia and Christ. You know, I'm learning about that there was always a balance I'm learning about the other side of Yahweh or Yahshua. Uh, I'm learning about Ashira. I'm learning that for every masculine God, like it's being reaffirmed that there was always a feminine God. And that is where these old paintings come from, and these old cave paintings and statues come from, where the woman is like this big entity and the male entity is this small childlike entity, literally humanizing how the earth, how the cosmos births, like depicting it in the feminine form because it births gods. It births forces, like learning about Tiamat and Marduk. I'm learning that there was this feminine principle that was the first thing to emerge from wanting to experience what was in externally. That's how the sky looks today. Well, I just wanted to share a little bit. I'll probably put my first painting that I painted. I actually painted this with one of my exes. And so look, it is the masculine and the feminine, dark and light, chaos and order. And look, it's a tail, like a snake or a dragon. And the earth is her tail is wrapped around the earth, but they're connected. This is the first picture that I painted when I started back painting. His last name was Love, and I always tell him that's the reason why you came into my life, was to give me that last name. But today is my anniversary with the one who I actually legally married. I was legally married to the one who passed in January of 2023. Today would be our 3-year anniversary had he lived. We were together for like 6 months, and it was some of the wildest times of my life. But now when I look back on our relationship, even the times that we argued, because there were arguments, I just laugh at him. Like, I know that he can't come back in that form like that, but I miss him. I'm happy that I had a chance to love him for such a short time. I learned so much from him so fast. He was on the spectrum. He was neurodivergent hell. I say all the time, I'm wrapped differently. It's myself. I think you can't live in this reality today and not be a little like where have you been? Like, what's going on? Anyway, today is our anniversary. And so I just wanted to share a message in honor of him, in honor of today, October the 4th. We were supposed to get married on my grandmother's birthday, but we actually got into an argument that day. So we ended up going on the 4th. And my... Oh, yeah. Lilem Nation. Purple ones. Rise.